Hey friends, I am back, and I wanted to address the synastry aspect of somebody's Venus in conjunct another person's Mars. What happens when we see this one in synastry? So this is kind of an awkward aspect that is both attractive and ultimately typically repellent, because we see two sexual planets in signs and making an angle to each other that they really don't have anything in common with. So we see timing issues typically when we have this one in an inconjunct aspect. It's not actually unusual to see this in synastry. It is not very, it's indicative of two people have very different styles. So it's not really found in very successful sexual relationships. It's not that it can't work. It requires a lot of understanding and a lot of adjustment between two people if it's going to work. So it can go from very off-putting to something that is, working in a relationship. Now, inconjunctions are weird because they show up as like two people have very different ideas about something, and they can't find anything in common with those ideas, so they just have to agree to disagree. This one in synastry is initially very attractive to people because it's kind of an opposites attract, and it's beyond opposites attract. It's like awkwards attract. So it's attractive because people, are like, wow, that's very exotic. I've never, seen that style or this approach. So that's really what is the underlying basis between why this one is attractive. It's not like the conjunction where it's like, ooh, I see you're on the same page as me and we're going, This is not like that. Instead of, this is the conjunction, this is the inconjunction. That you're glancing off of each other. See, this is the opposition. This is the square. The inconjunction is awkward. Look at the angle. Oh, I'm not quite making it in. That's the inconjunction for you. So this one can lead to a lot of impotency issues between a couple because there is a feeling and an expression of we're just not connecting. And when you're talking about sexuality, it's literally connecting that needs to be happening. So we see this one show up in a lot of marriage therapist office and sex therapist office between couples because they in themselves are, have a healthy expression, or can potentially have a healthy expression. But it's something about the being together that creates this kind of this soup of non-connective dissatisfaction. So at the heart of it is that their styles and modes of expression are simply different. It isn't that one is better than the other, or one is worse than the other, or one should be or shouldn't be doing this or that. They are just different. So it's in that appreciation of the other's differences that we see this one able to be handled between two people. So we have to adjust our expectation because the way that we approach our Venus or our Mars, our own Venus or our Mars, is has a lot to do with how we expect to be satisfied. And so this can be worked with, but it has to be worked out. And it's going to have to involve a lot of really honest communication, or else you're going to end up in a very frustrating position where you're attracted, but the actual act of coming together presents this kind of repellent, this repellent effect. So it's really important to, if you have this one, realize that it's not you, it's both of you. And that it can show up as being very humiliating for a couple to deal with, particularly the male in this particular situation, because it can have some very physical effects between two people. And the cause of that is not physical. It is the energy between you is not connecting in a way that is satisfying or that is providing an easy outlet to your mutual sexual expression. So we have to get on the same page, and we do that through understanding, adjusting our own expectations and our own behavior. Sometimes we have to go way out of our way and do or accept things that the other person wants or needs or finds pleasurable or satisfying or exciting that we may not find pleasurable, satisfying, or exciting. So a lot of couples have to come to make a decision with this one. Do I really want to make these adjustments and go this far out of my own comfort zone and my own pleasure zone? Or do I want to remain in my own idea of what is pleasurable and acceptable and makes me feel good? So inconjunctions always represent us with a dilemma. And it's in that dilemma that we kind of get stuck in feeling like there is no solution. When there really is, it's just always going to involve massive compromise. And then that presents the choice of, do we want to do that massive compromise? So really, it depends on what the entirety of the synastry and the relating and the reasons, the motivation for two people being together. You have to look at all of that. It really depends on that if you have this particular inconjunction, because this one can be outweighed by other really good things going on. Maybe you have some other good sexual aspects between you that kind of balance this out. But unfortunately, this one typically shows up in composite charts and in synastry charts where it is weighted towards already the dissatisfying or the awkward or the non-connective. So you have to consider everything. This in itself is not a killer, but it's definitely going to create a situation where you need to do some very conscious work and some conscious digging into each other's what makes each other feel good or what satisfies each other. You have to ask. You have to find out. You can't just assume, because it's in that assuming that we find this going on. So we want to make sure that we're really clear about what we want, what we need, what we will tolerate, what we will not tolerate. And when we can establish that, then we can start talking about, how can I meet you in a way that makes you feel good, or how can I change or modify my behavior where we can meet in the middle. So I hope this cleared a little bit up about this aspect and was informative. If you found this to be helpful, please subscribe to my channel. You can find me on the internet at truthinAspectAstrology.com. You can find me on Facebook at Truth in Aspect Astrology. Yes, I do private consultation. I am mainly a relationship and intimacy astrologer, but I interpret all types of charts under the sun, and I will be back super soon with more super cool videos. Bye-bye.